Hey everybody, Scott Conant here. I am making for you today in my home kitchen. Welcome. We're gonna make some Clams Casino. Clams Casino, I remember these from my first job ever in a restaurant. We would make dozens of these for service every night. I just have such great fond memories of these Clams Casino, and I want to share them with you. So a couple things you should have prepared before we get started for this class. Make sure you have your butter at room temperature. Make sure you have an ice bath ready. Make sure your oven is at 425 degrees preheated. And also at least 2 lemons cut into wedges. This is how we're going to start. I have some littleneck clams here. I'm going to turn this flame on in a pretty good sized pot. I'm going to turn it on to about a medium high. In the pot, I'm going to add the clams, and I'm going to add about half a cup of water. That's it. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to let it go, just like that. And what we're going to do is just allow that to cook. While that is cooking, in a separate pot, I'm going to put over a really low heat just to start it heating up. I have some smoked bacon here. I'm going to take this bacon, I'm going to mince it up very fine. Let's do this. Mince this up, we'll render it out nicely. We'll get all that flavor into that fat, and then we'll saute some shallots and some red pepper and a little bit of garlic and create a butter out of this later. And we'll stuff the clams with that. We'll make some beautiful breadcrumbs also that will top with these Clams Casino. We'll pop them in the oven for a little while, and then we will enjoy them because they're delicious. You know, there's something about a Clams Casino that just harkens back for me it's like the all-American dish, I feel like, to a certain extent. And this restaurant that I first worked at, that I had mentioned earlier, they had this beautiful lounge piano bar. So, they would have people in there singing and drinking probably more than they should, and eating clams and Clams Casino, and we had a clam pizza on the menu also that was delicious. So there's just a lot of memories for these ingredients with me, and they're just special. They have a place in my heart. So all right, so I have this pot on a low heat. I'm going to turn it up to medium now. I'm going to add this bacon. It is nicely minced. And I'm just going to let that render. It's going to take like 8-10 minutes or so. While that is rendering, I'm going to rinse off this cutting board. Just going to wash this bit off really quickly. You could hear that bacon starting to crisp up. I'm going to turn that flame down just a touch. I don't want it to go too quickly. I really want that fat to be rendered out nicely. It smells so nice. I love that. So while we're doing that, I have a shallot here, a couple shallots I'm going to mince up very fine also so they mix nicely with this butter. Remember the way we cut these shallots, it's the way they're going to be in our mouth, the flavor and the texture in our mouth. So I want to make sure that they are really nice, minced nicely. And I don't like cross-cutting onions, so it's really important to get it right on the first time around here, like this. Good. Get rid of those bits. Shallots, nicely diced. You hear the bacon cooking. The clams should be opening up momentarily. Let's take a peek. They're starting to boil there. That water's starting to boil. It's on a medium-high heat. That bacon and clams, just something about that classic flavor combination that just smells absolutely delicious to me. Maybe it's like growing up in New England. All right. A little more shallot. Chop these up super fine. Beautiful. Let's turn that flame down a touch. Stir it nicely with a wooden spoon. Sometimes if that bacon doesn't render out, feel free to add, if you feel like it needs a little more fat, to saute the shallots and the bell pepper. Feel free to add a touch of olive oil to it, or a little bit of oil, something. Even you could add a nut of butter or something, just a touch of it to help saute these other vegetables. So you don't want them to be without the fat that they're cooking in. But this should be good. All right, minced shallots. Beautiful. Yeah. So, these clams are starting to open up, as you can see. I'm going to let them go a little longer. The bacon is cooking away. I'm just going to do about half of this bell pepper. I'm going to chop these. I'm going to mince this up about the same as I did the shallots. So there's a nice uniform cooking here. Yeah, half a bell pepper should be nice. Should be good. All right. So once that bacon is rendering out nicely right now, I'm about to take that out and utilize that fat to saute these vegetables here. And the clams I can smell them steaming and opening, and smell so good. All right, so here is the bacon rendered out nicely. I'm going to let it go for another couple seconds. It's a little inconsistent right now. You can see some of it is starting to crisp up and some other bits are not. So I'm going to let that go a little longer. You can see these clams still opening. They're all coming together right there. Get a nice facial at the same time. Good stuff. That's going. That's on medium high. There we go. All right. So I'm going to remove the bacon from here with a slotted spoon and just let it sit on the side. And again, we're going to reserve that fat, as much of that fat as we can, to saute the vegetables in. And again, this is all such delicious flavor. All right. So shallots, red peppers, minced very fine, going right inside here. While this is cooking, I'm going to double check on these clams. They should almost be done. They may have another minute or two. If you want to cover that up a little bit to get it cooking along, I'm going to add a pinch of salt to that pepper mixture, a pinch of crushed red pepper as well. I like it a little spicy, so I'm going to go a little heavier on that crushed red pepper. And I'm going to allow that to cook. These clams are almost done. Look at the amount. I added a half a cup of liquid. Look at the amount of liquid that has been extracted from the clams themselves. You could see that they are really nice and fresh. I mean, they really smell great. I'm going to let that go a little longer. You want them to cook, not just open, because when they're just open, they still have a little bit longer to go. We're going to take those clams, we're going to reserve the bottom shell, discard the top shell, take the meat and chop it up and mix it in with the butter mixture that's going to go back into that shell and then roasted with breadcrumbs on top. It's going to be delicious. Trust me. While that is all going, what I'm going to do is chop some of this garlic. Good. I'm going to mince this garlic up well. I'm also going to mince up a little bit of thyme. So we can add the thyme and the garlic to that pepper and shallot mixture momentarily as it's cooking. You know, these clams, you know, they're not, I would say, they're not for subtle nuance and flavor. You want these flavors to be really jumping out at you when you take a bite of it. So, all right, so these clams are finished. I am going to put them in a separate container. Shut that flame off. These clams are done, I can tell, because here they're fully opened and they're extracted from the bottom muscle for the most part, and then we could just remove this other from the shell. So it's really easy to work with. I'm going to reserve these separately. Also really important that we take out about a 1/4 cup of this juice and reserve it for the butter as well. So about a 1/4 cup there. And we're going to take these clams. I'm just going to, for now, get them off the fire, throw some on the floor. All good. So that's going to cool down a little bit. I'll work with them momentarily. I reserved a little bit of that juice. That's good to go. These peppers and shallots are cooking nicely here. Again, as I said, if you don't feel like there's enough fat inside this, I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil to help it along a little bit. I'm mincing this garlic that we're going to add to that momentarily. I'm also going to add some chopped thyme to that mixture, so let me chop this up. About a teaspoon of thyme as well. A little bit of thyme, a little bit of minced garlic, good to go. I'm going to add that all together. Beautiful. So I'm going to let all those flavors intermingle, allow that garlic to cook nicely. See how it's nicely uniform in size as well? That'll help it cook more evenly. All right. While that is going, I have a little bit of oregano we're going to finish with later. I'll chop this up now and have it ready at the go. Perfect. We are also going to add, to finish, a little bit of parsley. So I'll have the parsley. Let's chop the parsley up also. We're not going to add that in the cooking process. We're going to finish it right at the end. So I like that nice, fresh parsley flavor. Goes so nice with seafood. All right. So parsley, vegetables are cooking. While those vegetables are still cooking, what I'm going to do just on the side here is take the clams and put them, take out the clam itself, remove the top half, and then reserve that on the side. Let's do this. This is what I'm going to cook the clams in. I like to cook clams in things like this because I can also serve the clam directly in this pan that I'm roasting them in. So there's that. Here we go. Remove the clam. Okay, we've got a loose clam here somewhere. We'll find it in the bottom. See that? There's always that temptation to remove a clam like this and pop one in your mouth. Don't do that, because then you're going to have the wrong number. I know this from experience. All right. So you get the idea here, going through this all, removing the clams, removing the tops, saving the bottoms, going through all this. Good. And also, the one thing you also want to check for is any residual sand or anything in these clams. This is a great opportunity to remove that sand now, so that it's not in the butter mixture that we're making. So, all right, that is cooking nicely. I'm going to add the oregano to this just so it blooms, right? As that is blooming, what I want to do, I wish you could smell this because it smells delicious. I'm going to have a little bit of white wine here to glaze it, and that reserved quarter cup of clam juice. And I'm going to allow that to reduce by about 80%. So as we are reducing that, we will get back to the clams. As I said, we're reserving the clams themselves. And if you run into a clam that is not opened, don't force it open. Just discard it, because it probably means it's not good anymore. So sometimes these things speak to you, and you got to trust it. It's telling you it's not good. Trust it. All right. See how this is not open? I'm just not going to use that one, right? Some of them, what I'm doing is, this is the bottom shell because the clam is still stuck to it, right? So we're removing it from that muscle, and then I'm saving the bottom one, and I'm discarding the top. There's no real reason why. It's just what I'm doing. All right, here we go. I think that's enough in this container. I don't think we need to do any more. There's a few left in here. I'll just take the clams out. And good. So what's happening with the shallot and bell pepper mixture is the wine is added and it really smells like raw wine. It's really important you get rid of that that white wine scent. So that's why I want to really reduce it down nicely. It's overly acidic. What happens is, as wine starts to cook down, white wine in particular, this is a Sauvignon Blanc, the sugar content will start to really come through, and that acidity will turn into a sweetness, and the acidity will still be there, but there'll be a nice sweet acidity to the wine once that alcohol is truly cooked out. So that's what we want to do. We want to let that keep going for a little while. While that is going, I'm going to take a moment and just clean up this mess of a station that I have here. I'm going to reserve this parsley that we have chopped. All right, this is done, nice and clean, good. This is reducing, almost finished, not quite done yet. Let's chop these clams. So I'm just gonna mince these up nicely. Sometimes if you have a large clam and you cook it like this, it'll become very tough. So one of the reasons why I chop it is to kind of help tenderize it a little bit. So, I haven't made these Clams Casino in years, and I'm so excited for the final result. All right. I have an oven preheated right now to 425 degrees. That's an important point, to make sure you have that oven preheated. If I had a live fire, I would love to cook these right over a live fire also. Not necessary to do, but it would really impart a great flavor to it. Yes. All right, that's good. I'm going to put these right back in this same bowl. Clean this off. All right. Good stuff. That is finished. I'm going to take this off the fire. I'm going to add the bacon back into this mixture. Beautiful. So let's add this. We have this ice bath. We have the clams. I'm going to add the butter to this also and allow it to melt, and the parsley. About a teaspoon of parsley to this. Nice. Let's do this. Okay. So I'm going to take this mixture. I'm going to put it inside this bowl here. It's nice and warm. I want to cool it down. I want to add the clams and the butter to it. Stick of butter, about 4 ounces. The clams as well. I'm going to add all this together. And I'm just going to mix it up and really allow these flavors to intermingle. Look at that. That's exactly what you want it to be. So I'm going to let it cool down like this for a few minutes. And really what you're creating here is a very well-seasoned compound butter. That's essentially what this is. Clams, bacon, shallots, bell peppers, a little spice with the crushed red pepper as well. Delicious. So I'm just going to let this cool. That butter will solidify momentarily, as well as the fat from the bacon that's inside there, so that'll really kind of suspend all these delicious ingredients and flavors together. We'll fill up some of these clam shells top it with a breadcrumb mixture that we will come right back and make. So I'm going to take a moment and clean this up and get ready for the next step. And if you haven't done it already, set your oven to 425 degrees and we'll get right to it. So we're back. I cleaned up the mess that I've made. We have this beautiful butter mixture with the smoked bacon and bell peppers, a little white wine. It is absolutely delicious. Lots of herbs inside there. We are going to make a breadcrumb for this, just to top these clams. The clams are also in with this butter. Over a medium heat, I have about a half a cup of breadcrumbs here. Medium heat, I'm going to toss these breadcrumbs together. I have a clove of garlic that I'm going to toss in with it, just smashed. And I'm going to just toss them together nice and simple like this. I have 2 tablespoons of parsley. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, just a pinch of salt to season. I am also going to finish it with some extra virgin olive oil, those breadcrumbs also. And it's going to have a nice toastiness to them. It's going to have a beautiful texture with the olive oil, good flavor obviously with the parsley and the crushed red pepper and the salt. Medium heat, toasting these breadcrumbs. All good. I have some lemon wedges here as well. You could squeeze a little lemon on top of that. It's always a nice touch. And this will start toasting momentarily. I want these breadcrumbs to be tossed because I don't want them to burn on one side. What you'll notice is once they start to toast, they go really quickly. So that's going to be an important thing to almost keep them in constant motion. You could already start to see some of that toasting color coming on some of the smaller bits of the breadcrumb. And like all things, if you're toasting it and then you get impatient, which is what I kind of do, so it's better I speak to you than be impatient and turn the heat up and start to try to move it along a little quicker. Inevitably, what's going to happen is it goes a little bit too fast and the pan itself gets too hot. So what you want to do, keep it on a medium heat, be very patient, but when the toast is done, when it's toasted the way you want it to be toasted, really remove it from the pan, remove those breadcrumbs from the pan, put them in a bowl so the cooking process stops immediately. If they stay in the pan itself, obviously the pan is hot, there's residual heat, and it will burn your breadcrumbs. I have made this mistake many times, so you don't have to. How about that? See that toast starting to happen. Any minute now. Any minute now. That garlic is also in there because we really want that flavor transfer. See how that nice toast? I think we are almost there. Nice golden. I'm going to add a pinch of crushed red pepper to it now. All right, we're good. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of parsley to that bowl. We're good. Breadcrumbs in there. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And what is very important here is I like to use a fork to stir these breadcrumbs around because it helps get things a little more consistent. So, good. Perfect. We could remove that crushed garlic clove if you want. Good. All right, here we go. Now to the fun part. I'm going to shut that flame off, don't forget. Clams are in the bowl with the butter. The clam shells are here. I'm going to remove this. Take this butter from the ice. Good. So this is what I like to do. I like to take a little bit, about a tablespoon of that mixture, right inside the shell, and then another spoon of these breadcrumbs and just go right over the top with that. So you can do these relatively quickly. Again, in the restaurants, obviously we make hundreds of these at a time. If you are pressed for time, one of the things you could easily do is make it just like this, and then don't put the breadcrumbs on yet, particularly if you're entertaining, and pop them in the freezer. Allow yourself, a little time on the day of. You can prep these a couple days ahead, pop them in the freezer, and allow yourself a little bit of relaxation on the day of your party. And then take them right from the freezer, allow them to thaw at room temperature for 20 minutes or so, and then pop them right in the oven. See that? And then just like that. You have enough of this, so let's do that. Might as well use it all up. Kind of shake off the excess a little. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to take these clams, I'm going to pop them in this oven for 8 to 10 minutes, again at 425, and this is going to be good looking. Look at how nice those look. Perfect. Let's do that. What we're looking for is a deep golden color on top with all that butter kind of melted with those clams. It'll just be sizzling and delicious looking. We'll talk about it a little bit if I can control myself and not scoff one down. I'm really excited about this. The scent and smells of what's coming off of these clams are just, it's spectacular. So these Clams Casino, for me, they're just such a beautiful sense of nostalgia. I absolutely love them. I hope that you enjoy making them with your family, creating these memories with your family. Most importantly, I just hope you enjoy the way they taste. Cheers. Wow. Wow, that's good.